When I first met Lyra, I thought she was just another foreign researcher stationed at the Andromeda Orbital Institute, brilliant, secretive, and dazzling in a way that made everyone uneasy. It was 2189, the year humanity finally learned how to coexist with the off-world species of the outer systems. Coexist was a strong word, though. Treaties were fragile, the politics even more so. Lyra arrived as part of an interstellar diplomacy exchange from Epsilon Draconis, a system few humans had ever seen and fewer still understood. She was tall, graceful, her skin faintly silver under the station lights. Her eyes shifted hue depending on her mood, crimson when angry, deep violet when amused. I, a xenobiologist with a fascination for cross-species genetics, was assigned as her liaison. Our first meeting was professional, clinical. She asked me about humanity's curious obsession with warmth, with fire, with sunlight. I remember laughing and saying, "It's what keeps us alive." Her lips curved in a strange, knowing way. "Where I come from," she said softly, "the sun is a curse." Months passed. Professionalism blurred into companionship into affection. I didn't question her oddities, the way she avoided communal meals, her insistence on working during the station's artificial night cycle, or the faint hum she emitted when she concentrated. Love or infatuation has a way of dulling logic. When she proposed, or rather declared, that we should be bonded under both human and draconian law, I said yes without hesitation. The ceremony was small, a circle of light, an exchange of heart crystals, a brief fusion of our blood. It was strange but beautiful. I never suspected she wasn't entirely what she said she was. Not until years later. The middle, the hunger of secrets. Our life together was quiet but fulfilling. We relocated to Luna Outpost 9, far from the crowded orbital colonies. I conducted genetic research on lunar flora, while Lyra worked with the Draconian Science Council through encrypted transmissions. She often disappeared into her lab for hours, sometimes days. When I asked, she'd smile and say, "Trade secrets, my love." At night, when the dome lights dimmed, she'd lie beside me and listen to my heartbeat. Literally. She'd press her ear against my chest and whisper, "You sound so alive." Her body was always cold, even in the heat of our bed. I told myself it was just her physiology. Draconians were cold-blooded after all. Then little things began to happen. I'd wake up feeling lightheaded, with faint red marks on my neck. Lyra would claim it was a lunar insect bite, but Luna had no insects. The security cameras in our quarters often malfunctioned between 0200 and 0400 hours, always when I was asleep. One night, unable to shake the paranoia, I pretended to sleep. I felt her rise beside me, heard her soft steps. Then a whisper, not in any human language, a sibilant hum that made my skin prickle. I cracked my eyes open and saw her kneeling over me, her mouth hovering near my throat. Her eyes glowed blood red. "Lyra!" croaked. She froze, then slowly turned her head. Her expression wasn't anger or guilt. It was sorrow. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I can't help it." She fled the room before I could move. For days she avoided me. When I confronted her, she said only, "There are things about my people you are not ready to understand." That night, I began researching her species' true origins. The official records were sanitized, vague. But the black archives, the kind that required clearance I technically didn't have, told another story. Epsilon Draconis was not a sunlit paradise. It was a dying star system, its planets perpetually shrouded in darkness. Its inhabitants, the Ecliptons, were rumored to survive by consuming bioenergetic plasma from other life forms. In other words, they were energy vampires. The term had been buried under layers of diplomatic euphemism. But the symptoms matched: cold skin, nocturnal behavior, blood exchange rituals. When I confronted her again, she didn't deny it. "Yes," she said simply. "My people feed on what you call life force. Blood is only the vessel. But I swore I would never harm you." "Then what were you doing that night?" "I was dying," she said quietly. "And I needed a fraction of your essence to survive." I wanted to believe her. I did believe her. Love again is blindness wrapped in hope. We made peace after that. I even helped her synthesize a substitute serum made from cloned blood cells, though she always said it wasn't the same. Years passed. The world outside continued to spiral into interstellar conflict. Humans distrusting draconians, rumors of espionage, biological warfare. But we lived in our lunar isolation, two outcasts clinging to our own fragile universe. Then, one evening, she told me she was pregnant. 3. The revelation, the child between worlds. It should have been impossible. Our DNA structures were incompatible. Human carbon-based life and Eclipton silicon organic hybrids couldn't produce viable offspring. Yet there she was, glowing with an inner light I'd never seen before. I was stunned, elated, terrified. "How?" was all I could say. Her smile was enigmatic. "We found a way long ago. My blood remembers what yours forgets." Over the following months, her body changed in ways that defied biology. She didn't gain much weight, but her skin shimmered like liquid metal, and her eyes deepened to a luminescent violet. The child's presence within her seemed to radiate energy. My instruments detected faint electromagnetic fields pulsing from her abdomen. When I placed my hand over her belly, I could feel it, a hum, rhythmic and alive. "It knows you," she said once, placing her hand over mine. "It hears your thoughts. Be kind to it." The birth was not like any I'd witnessed. There was no blood, no pain, only light. She stood in the center of our lab, surrounded by a halo of violet energy, her body almost transparent. When the light dimmed, she was holding a child, human in form but not in essence. Pale skin, silver eyes, a faint glow beneath the surface. "She's beautiful," I whispered. Lyra smiled. His name is Kale." The child grew faster than any human infant. Within months he could speak. Fragmented sentences at first, then entire conversations. His voice carried a strange resonance, like two tones speaking at once. He learned by watching, absorbing, feeling. He called me father. For a time we were happy again. Until the nightmares began. For the Eclipse War. It started with whispers across the interplanetary networks. Human settlements disappearing, their populations drained of life. The United Earth Council blamed rogue draconian factions. The Draconians denied involvement, claiming a feral subclan acted without sanction. But I knew. I recognized the energy patterns from Lyra's serum research. Someone had weaponized her biology. She admitted it one night, tears streaking her silver cheeks. "I told them how to sustain themselves without killing. I never told them to turn it into a weapon." Soon the war reached Luna. The Council ordered all off-world species to be detained. When the soldiers came, Lyra and I fled with Kale into the moon's subcrust tunnels, relics of old mining projects long abandoned. For weeks, we hid among the cold rocks. Kale grew quieter, more distant. Sometimes his eyes would glow faintly in the dark, and I'd hear him whispering in that same ancient tongue Lyra used when she thought I slept. "Who are you talking to?" he asked once. He turned those silver eyes on me. "The stars. They're calling us back." Lyra's health began to fail. She refused to feed, even on the serum. She said the child drew too much of her energy, that it was her life sustaining him. "Let me help," I begged. She shook her head. "You don't understand. If I take from you now, you'll die. The bond between us is too deep." Days later, the soldiers found us. They cornered us in the lower caverns, plasma rifles trained on Lyra. I tried to shield her, but Kale stepped forward. His small hands lifted, and the air around him vibrated, then exploded in a wave of light that threw the soldiers backward like rag dolls. When the dust settled, he stood unharmed, eyes burning like twin suns. Lyra fell to her knees. "No, it's begun." "What?" "Yes. The merging. His power is awakening." That night, as she lay dying in my arms, she pressed a hand to my face and whispered the words that would haunt me forever. "This child is yours, human. I kept the truth from you to protect him, to protect you." I was crying too hard to speak. "What truth?" She smiled faintly, her skin turning pale as frost. "He's not just ours. He's the bridge, the one who will decide whether our species destroys or redeems each other. His birth was forbidden. I hid him from my people, and from yours." She died before I could ask more. Her body dissolved into radiant mist that drifted upward into the dark lunar sky. Kale watched silently, expressionless. Then he turned to me. "She's gone home," he said. 5. The aftermath. The child of two bloods in the years that followed. The Eclipse War consumed both species. I fled with Kale to the outer colonies, moving constantly, always hiding his nature. He grew rapidly. By the time he looked 10, only 2 Earth years had passed. He could manipulate light and energy, bend matter in subtle ways. But the more he used his abilities, the colder he became, emotionally and physically. Sometimes, I'd wake up to find him standing at my bedside, watching me with unreadable eyes. "You dream of her," he'd say. "You still love her." "Yes," I'd reply. "And so do you." He'd look away. "I don't know what love is." When he was 12, he started receiving transmissions, faint, encoded signals from deep space. "They're calling me," he said one day. "My mother's people. They've found me." I tried to stop him, to destroy the receiver. But it was too late. A draconian ship arrived weeks later, stealth-coated, hovering in the shadow of Saturn. They wanted the child. I met them in the black of space, alone in my shuttle. The leader, an Ecliptan elder with eyes like molten glass, spoke softly. "The hybrid must return to us. He is the key to the continuum. What will you do to him?" I demanded. "Teach him to control what he is, or the universe will suffer for your union." I refused. They attacked. Kale, sensing the danger, unleashed a storm of energy that ripped through the draconian vessel like fire through paper. When it was over, he floated outside the airlock, surrounded by debris and silence. "I didn't mean to," he whispered through the comms. "I just wanted them to stop." I pulled him back inside. He was trembling, glowing with unstable power. "You're not a monster," I told him. "You're my son." But in his eyes I saw doubt and fear. 6. The ending. The Eclipse child years passed. The war burned itself out. Both species nearly destroyed each other before signing a fragile truce. By then, Kale had grown into a being neither human nor Ecliptan, something new. He rarely spoke. He spent his days meditating in silence, staring at the stars as though listening to voices I couldn't hear. One night he came to me. "It's time," he said. "For what?" "For me to finish what she started." He explained that his mother's final act, creating him, had been part of a prophecy among her kind. A child born of light and shadow, capable of uniting life's opposing energies. But only if he chose compassion over domination. If I stay, he said, I'll become what they fear. If I go, maybe I can become what she hoped. I wanted to argue, to beg him to stay. But when I looked at him, I saw Lyra, her calm strength, her sad wisdom. He smiled faintly. Don't be afraid, father. She's waiting for me beyond the veil. And then he was gone, a burst of violet light ascending into the black sea of stars. The war ended soon after. The Ecliptons withdrew into their home system, the humans into theirs. Both sides claimed divine intervention halted the conflict. I knew better. Sometimes on quiet nights, I returned to the old observatory where Lyra and I first met. I watched the Epsilon Draconis system through the telescope. Every now and then I see a flare of violet light, brief, beautiful, and impossibly distant. I tell myself it's him watching over us. Lyra once said the sun was a curse to her kind. But maybe for our child it became a promise, that light and shadow could exist together, and that love, however alien, could change the universe.